طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I want to welcome Shaykh Osamah to our program. Jazakallah khair Shaykh Osamah for making it happen. And we're all are thirsty to learn from his knowledge inshallah about fiqh of puberty. Few instructions. Please first put all of your phones in your pockets. That's time for learning inshallah. Number two, we're going to be having 45 minutes lecture at the beginning, and that's live streamed. And then we're going to stop the live streaming, and then we're going to open for Q&A inshallah, so we can all ask Shaykh Osamah any questions we have. With that being said, I'll hand the microphone to Shaykh Osamah so we can start inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the time that we have together and to bless this summer program, to reward Shaykh Yusuf and all of the volunteers and the youth committee for organizing it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them and reward them greatly, and may Allah bless you all for attending this summer program. We couldn't wait to have something like this again, especially after a year and a half of COVID and the difficult situation with not being able to meet as freely as we want and to have fun as much as we want. So alhamdulillah, this is a ni'mah, and with every ni'mah and every blessing, we observe it with shukr and gratitude. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His immense blessings, and we experience shukr by dealing with those blessings in a way that pleases Allah. Alhamdulillah, you started off the summer program with a trip. I don't know how many of you guys went to the Diyanat Center. How many of you? Did most of you go? All of you go? All of you went? Was it a nice masjid? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah for the beauty of Islam. Alhamdulillah for Islam bringing together so many people from many different backgrounds and ethnicities and understandings, and alhamdulillah for making us from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today we have a really important subject that we're going to discuss. It's something that all of you are experiencing right now. As each day is passing from your life and you're growing, you're entering a new phase in your life, different than your preteen years. You're starting to get exposed to different things, you're starting to feel certain things, and you're actually entering what we call the age of taklif and accountability. For us, that age doesn't come in at 18. You're not held responsible for your actions and your decisions and your statements when you reach 18. No, by us in our deen, once you reach what we call adolescence, puberty, once you reach what we call in Arabic bulugh, then your decisions are just as consequential as the decisions of adults. Because for us, the adulthood is a state of mind, it's not tied to a certain age. In our deen, when you look at the example of the companions, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with them, some of them, their stories are very, very illustrious and special. Even as young boys alongside the Prophet ﷺ, as teenagers, when you consider the likes of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Zubayr and Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, and when you consider the likes of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, and you read their stories, you understand who they were, remember that they did what they did at a very young age. Some of them, your age right now. So for us, what we call sin al-taklif, the age of accountability, doesn't start when you become 18. Adulthood, we need to change perspective on it. Are you guys adults? Well, you can choose to act like adults. You can choose to carry yourself like an adult. Some people, they reach the age of 30. And they still act with the attitudes of young children. They don't have a sense of responsibility for their actions. They don't have a sense of commitment to their principles. So this is what really makes a person truly an adult, And this fiqh, what we call fiqh of puberty, is actually not just about ahkam. Do this, don't do that, this is how you should do this. And, and I, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Yusuf, for the selection of the title. Because it doesn't limit it to just being about tahara and purification, even though that's an important part of it, right? But first off, it starts with understanding this. Where am I at in my life? What do my decisions mean in terms of my akhirah? And how seriously should I take the stage that I'm in right now? Those are some serious questions. I need to be serious enough, I need to be mature enough to think about these types of things. You know what, if I do that, my life's going to be worthwhile. Because some people, a lifetime passes and they never think about things like this at all. What's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? What decisions am I making? What are the consequences of those decisions? What will really make me happy? What's the outcome of this path that I'm going down in my life? It's hard for people to think like that unless they have what we call hikmah, wisdom, النظر في عواقب الأمور. You know what? That's a lot what the word fiqh has to do with. Fiqh, does anyone know what it linguistically means? Anyone here know what fiqh linguistically means? Anyone? It actually means fahm. Fahm is understanding. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. If Allah wills goodness for a person, He grants him fiqh of his deen and his Islam. Fiqh of Islam, what does that mean? Understanding. Being a person of understanding is actually a beautiful thing. It saves a person from a lot of problems, a lot of sadness, a lot of conflicts. Just being willing to, broaden my horizons, just take different things in and process them. That's what we're trying to do here. With the halaqat, with the workshops, with the summer program, with everything that you're dealing with at the masjid, the end goal is, how can I be a Muslim who's well-rounded in my Islam, who has a deep understanding of life and of my commitment to Allah and my commitment to community. That's fiqh. That's fiqh. Puberty, that's what you're experiencing now. Your body is going through different changes. And those changes are creating certain reactions to different things that you get exposed to. I need to be aware of that. What's going on inside me and what is it doing to me? How am I changing? And how can I make sure that whatever change I'm going through is making me a better person, closer to Allah? That's fiqh of puberty. You know why? Because the world around us, brothers, is not easy. There's a lot of tough things out there. There's a lot of things that, can cause a person to get swept up in different directions, different ideologies, different shahawat. Shahawat. You guys know what shahawat are? Who knows what shahwa means? What does shahwa mean? What does it mean? It means desires. There are different temptations, desires out there that can cause people to get completely derailed in their life. Can you give me an example? Who can give me an example of a desire or temptation that can completely derail a person? Give me an example. Women, yes, the other gender, right? Of course, absolutely. This is something that is a reality. It's a reality of our humanity. It could become something beautiful when it manifests in a halal way through marriage, through setting up a family, or it can manifest in a way that completely devastates a person. When it's done the wrong way, when it's done through watching illicit images or videos or getting into relationships that, won't really make me happy. Most you're going to see this, and inshallah you don't experience it, but most people, when they seek to get into a relationship, it's because they want to be happy. Right? They're human beings. We as human beings, we want to be happy. But sometimes the people don't know the path to happiness, the most efficient way to it. And when they get the consequences of their decisions, they feel a great deal of regret. So anyway, that's, yes, very good. Can you think of another temptation or desire? Go ahead. Money, of course, money. Money can completely consume a person. It could take a person's life with stress, anxiety, and illnesses. So many people, they experience this later on in life. I don't want to be, that's another desire. Temptation that from the world around me can cause people to get sucked up in a completely isolated reality that takes them away from their family. Sometimes it happens to fathers. Sometimes it happens to mothers. Another temptation, desire. All right, can you think of another one? Something that's related to you guys now. Go ahead. Hatred? That's not really a desire. It's not a temptation. I'm talking about something more like that, something you really want to do. Something that would really make you happy and you just really want it for yourself. Go ahead. To smoke? Drugs, yes, it's another thing. Something, yes, that's another thing that sweeps people up and derails their lives. So many people, by the way, this is a serious thing. In our community, many people are suffering from this. Many different drug addictions. Because it's not about the smoking. It becomes an addiction. And they can't break out of it even if they wanted to. And sometimes it takes their lives. Many times it takes their lives. So that's another thing. I need to have fiqh, an understanding of puberty. Because this is stuff I'm going to get exposed to. I might have a friend who wants to expose me to something. What am I going to do? How am I going to deal with it? Am I going to look at it, oh, this is going to be fun for now, this cool crowd makes me feel good, I tasted it before. But what's the end result going to be, right? So that's another example. I just want to take a few more examples before we get deeper into the subject. Go ahead. Give me another example of a desire that people have today. Nice things. Expensive, yeah, consumerism, absolutely. Shopping, just for the purpose of shopping. I need to have brand name and everything. Yeah, that's absolutely. Another example of something is like playing video games, or binge watching Netflix. You're starting out the summer vacation. I'm happy you decided to come here, or at least I hope you decided to come here. And I hope it wasn't because your parents forced you. But even if they forced you, you're lucky you're here. You know why? Because a lot of other people are going to spend the rest of the summer, the next 2 months, they're going to spend in it, wasted away, 6 hours a day, watching live streaming, movie after movie on Netflix, on Prime Video, on the Hulu, and all the rest. They're going to watch it all, and then once they're done with the movies, they're going to go to the video games and spend a few more hours there, and their brain is going to be fried by the end of the summer. Literally fried. Right? So that's another example. But you know what? That derails people. I know people, trust me, isolation isn't good. If you allow yourself to become so isolated, where you don't have friends, and you're like in your room, especially through this phase that you're going through, puberty right now, this is not a time where you want to have nothing to do. And you're just in your room all by yourself, because you know what? That could hurt you. There's our scholars, they teach us something. إِلَّمْ تُشْغِلْ نَفْسَكَ بِالْحَقِّ شَغَلَتْكَ بِالْبَاطِلِ. If you don't consume yourself doing positive things, it's going to destroy you with negative things. And if you stay all by yourself in the room, many people, they end up having mental health issues because of this. Seriously. They start getting stress, anxiety. The shaitan convinces them to go open certain websites and they could get away with it. Their parents can't. Their parents don't know what they're doing. Their parents are from a different generation and they could run laps around their parents in terms of hiding stuff on their phone and on their computers. They start going to different websites or start chatting with different people. And you know what? They start doing certain things with their body. It really messes them up. It messes. Don't ever, as you're entering the stage of puberty, and when we talk about the fiqh of puberty means, how can I continue to grow with the days that come in my life, in my relationship with Allah, and in my relationship with those around me? Because that's what life is all about. Two types of relationships. Your relationship with Allah directly, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about tahara and salah. And your relationship with Allah through your relationship with others, your parents, your family. Having a good support system around you through your friends, who you choose to be around. What you allow yourself to get exposed to in terms of what you watch. I was talking with some of the older shabab and the older youth when they start growing up, and you could watch certain things and you could go to certain places. And then they start thinking about how to control their gaze and lower their gaze and not look at something inappropriate. and how it becomes so difficult to do that. And the reason why is if I allow myself to do bad things, if I allow myself to be inserted into a very negative thing, watching movies, watching things, or doing things, or speaking to people that won't help me really, really find happiness on the inside, then you know what? It's going to be really difficult. It's going to be difficult to manage puberty and navigate through it. Someone had their hand raised here. Did you want to say something? You wanted to say something?
Power is another desire.
Oh, of course. Power is a very, very big desire, especially when you grow up further, grow up more in your life. You're going to find that people have power for position and power for political clout and power for over other people. Sometimes it comes up in this stage with bullying. Some people, they feel powerless at home, so they want to find some weak people around them to exude their power over. I'm gonna become a bully. I'm gonna bully those around me. A bully is a very weak person. Someone who's very weak emotionally. We should never allow that to happen. So that's a person who feels powerless, so he tries to enforce his power on those who can't help themselves. That's a bully. It's a good example. We're going to go on to the next subject because we have limited time. But these are just examples. Why is fiqh of puberty so important? If you're going to remember anything now from this lecture, remember these words. You are in a very sensitive, a very critical stage in your life. And the decisions you make now will have ripple effects for years to come. You know what? Decades to come. What you decide now is really what you choose to do with your study, how you choose to deal with your deen, with your parents, what you choose to do in your private time. It has a very far effect. So make sure you're aware of this stage and make sure you have fiqh in the way you approach it. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us fiqh. What does fiqh mean again? Understanding. It means fahm. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us fiqh. As the Prophet ﷺ said, if Allah wills goodness for a person, He gives him understanding of deen. يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Now that's about fiqh of puberty on a general level. My life in general. When it comes to something more specific, again, if you have your phone out, please put it away. Jazakallah khair. When it comes to something more specific about my relationship with Allah and understanding what I need to do to make sure that I'm building my akhirah, I'm building my hereafter, I'm actually working towards Jannah, I need to make sure that I understand what my relationship with Allah is all about. Now, what is my relationship with Allah about? There's different types of acts of worship, right? There is a tradition, so, when you think of worship, what do you think of? Who can answer the question for me? What do you think of worship? Salah. What else do you think of when you think of worship? Quran. What else do you think of when you think of worship? Making dua. All right, what else? Siyam, fasting. All right. Zakah. Okay, that's another. Okay, what about being kind to your neighbor? Is that an act of worship? Okay. What about seeking knowledge? Is that an act of worship? What about being clean? Is that an act of worship? Okay. Huh? What is it? Definitely, right? Being clean is definitely an act of worship. All right. What about serving those in need? Is that an act of worship? Yes. Because many people, when they think of worship, they think of this ritual thing. Okay, you do certain motions, you say certain things, and that's what worship is. But for the Muslim, worship means the way I deal with everything in life and how I connect it to Allah. That's right? Because everything about life, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. My creation is for worship in that broad sense. Right? But anyway, when I think of it in a different way, I have those ritual acts of worship, like you said, tahara, purification, and then I have salah, and then I have fasting, zakah, I have hajj. That's one category of deeds. There's other categories like financial acts of worship, Like that's like giving sadaqah, or مثلا giving zakah, or by us even giving a loan. This is an act of worship, because by us loans aren't really for profit. They're to help people in need, right? If someone needs money, he's in a very tough bind, he's asking you for $1,000, you give him a loan. This is an act of worship. It's a beautiful act of worship. So, and then, there are other acts of worship that their benefits extends to others, right? Like we were giving examples of that, like of social service, of helping out the weak and the needy, and all that. So these are different acts of worship. When it comes to fiqh of puberty, as we said before, I have now become required to do some bare minimals, and if I don't do them, then I'll be held accountable for not doing them. Now, if an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old was to say something to their parents that's inappropriate, we'd tell that young boy or that young girl, you should be careful and be respectful to your parents. But when someone does that in their later years, 12, 13, 14, 15, now it's gone just from advice. Now they're committing what we call a sin. A sin, yes, a ma'asiyah. Something that is actually very bad for them by Allah Azza wa Jal. Some people do things that completely ruin their relationship with Allah. One of those things is breaking the heart of your mother or your father, or hurting them, or actually transgressing against them. So that's part of what puberty means. Now I've become required to do certain things that relates to sometimes my relationship with Allah and sometimes my relationship with others. What am I required to do when it comes to my relationship with Allah? Right? I need to make sure that I understand the concept of tahara, purification. I need to understand that thoroughly. Now, if someone, I'll give you an example. So, by us is being pure and clean something outward or inward? Outward. Or? Inward. Or? Is it both? Is it both? Yeah, it's both, right? The Muslim should be clean and nice outwardly, and he should also be clean and nice inwardly. What does it mean to be clean on the inside? Well, I'll give you an example. If someone is constantly gossiping, or someone, he sees people with blessings and he envies them, or someone, he's so arrogant in the way he carries himself. Is that someone that you think is clean on the inside? Someone who is just like so toxic in the way that he sees people, he deals with people? That's not clean on the inside. That's taharatul qulub. And we have a special subject for that you study in our deen. It's called tazkiyah. Tazkiyah, purification of the soul. Just as my body needs to be purified, my soul needs to be purified too. And you know what? When I'm focusing on purifying my outward, I'm actually having my inward in mind. So one of the things that we'll cover, for example, about wudu. Now some people, it just doesn't make sense to them. Like, why on earth would I have to do wudu when my body's clean? I just took a shower half an hour ago. Why do I have to wash my face and my arms and my feet? And what's the point of it? If my body's clean, why do I need to wash it again? Right? So this person doesn't understand that relationship. For me as a believer, I'm getting ready for the most important meeting in my life when I'm doing tahara. What's the most important meeting in life? Right? With who? With Allah Azza wa Jal. When I get into salah, I'm actually, you know what? I can't hear or see Allah in this dunya. But I'm actually in a meeting with Allah. That's one of the beautiful things about, you know what? You're going to learn when you grow up. This is something that actually brings a lot of people to Islam. It's very powerful. That you can turn to Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, the all-knowing, the all-wise, whenever you want. Whether human beings can hear you, He can hear you. And He, subhanah, never loses sight of you. That's a powerful thing. So when I'm going into salah, I'm going into a meeting with Allah Azza wa Jal. So purification, I'm doing wudu. Some people, they're like, why am I washing? Here, when I'm doing the process, I'm getting my mind and my soul ready to be in a meeting with Allah. So when I'm washing my face, I'm actually thinking about washing my face and cleansing it from the effects of the things I looked at. When I'm washing my mouth, I'm cleansing it from the effects of the things I said. When I'm washing my arms, and I'm washing it from the effects of the things I took, or the things I hit that I shouldn't have done. Or, I'm washing it from those sins that are on the inside. Even if on the outside you're all clean. This is the meaning behind wudu. This is part of the fiqh of puberty. That, realizing how important my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal really is. Right? So that's only one aspect to it. You know what? Why is this subject so important when it comes to understanding the changes that are going on in my body, and how I need to make sure that I am doing what I should be doing so that my relationship with Allah is good and that my relationship with others is good too? When I think of that, think of this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one time he came to a grave, or two graves. They were next to each other. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أَمَا إِنَّهُمَا لَيُعَذَّبَانِ وَمَا يُعَذَّبَانِ فِي كَبِيرٍ. These two people here, they're being punished. They're being punished. People get punished in their graves? Yeah, they do. The Prophet ﷺ told us that in the graves, all of the creations can hear the punishments of the graves, except the human beings and the jinn. And if we could hear it, we would faint from fear of what's going on there. We can't hear it, and alhamdulillah, we can't hear it. So the Prophet ﷺ said they're being punished. And they're not being punished for something so major. Or you know what? They're not being punished for something that people see as major. Because the two things are actually major. But people don't see them as major. What are they? There are two things. One of them is relating to being toxic on the inside. Another one is relating to being dirty on the outside. The Prophet ﷺ said one of them would walk about among people with namima, dividing between them. He'd say, oh, Ahmed, he was saying this and this about you. You know what? Ali, he actually really doesn't like you. He's lying to you. He told me this and that. Or you know what? He plans to do this and that. This person, namam, is a major sin. It's a major sin to divide between people like that. It shows that the person's really ugly on the inside, dirty on the inside. Tahara, right? We said tahara, inside, outside too. The person's not clean in the inside. Now what about the other one? The other person wasn't clean on the outside. So the other person, كَانَ لَا يَسْتَبْرِئُ مِنْ بَوْلِهِ. The other person didn't really care. Go to the bathroom and, excuse the expression. I know some people are with us live stream, but, we need to say it. We can't beat around the bush. Some people, they go to the bathroom and it's like they're, target practice. Shooting left and right and over the walls and in the toilet. And unfortunately this happens in the masjid. How do you know? Oh, we know. The maintenance brothers tell us all the time, we need to be careful of this. The Prophet ﷺ said, that person's being punished in his grave because he didn't really care. Go right into the bathroom, walk right out. You know what? Might not even wash their hands. Even though it's very disgusting, but a lot of people do that. They're not even thinking of it. Why is this important? Why would this person be punished in his grave? Why do you think he'd be punished? Why is this significant enough to make the person punished in his grave? Why do you think? You're harming other people with the way you use the bathroom? Well, maybe with the smell and the disgusting appearance, but you're annoying, but that's not the main reason. Yeah, it's annoying, of course, if you go to a bathroom and it smells like urine all over the place, but what do you think? You could spread germs, absolutely, but that's not the main reason why. All right, what happens if your wudu is always not valid and your clothes are always technically dirty? What happens to your salah? Is it going to be valid? Is it going to be valid? So the reason why this person is actually being punished is because it shows they have no reverence for Allah. They have no regard for the boundaries of Allah. And you know Allah says in His book, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. If I'm a person who shows respect, what does reverence mean? It shows respect for the boundaries of Allah. I realize that this is something important. You know, salah is something important. You know, I'm going to take it, I'm going to make it important. You know, think of something that you really want. You know, some of you maybe, do any of you work? Any of you work here? Raise your hand. You guys work? You get summer jobs or something? You got a few that get summer jobs, all right? You know, if you really want a job and you're going to apply for it, in the coming years, you're all going to experience this. Yeah, they'll tell you, oh, you got to wear your best clothes. Oh, you gotta make sure you get a really good resume, solid resume. You present yourself in a respectful way. You're good with communication and eye contact and all the rest, right? I'm going to tell you to do all this stuff, right? If I treat my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal with so much disregard that I, basically roll out of bed and I just go slap my face, my arms and my feet with a little bit of water, and I'm like standing in salah half asleep, I don't know when it started and when it ended. I'm talking about Fajr, for example. What does that say about how much I really care about Allah and how much I respect Allah and how much having Allah in my life really means to me? You know what? I might not feel it now because I still haven't gone through some serious issues. But you'll see this in your life, and many people experience this. That when you don't have Allah in your life, it creates an empty void. Nothing can fill it. Nothing can fill it. Trust me, you will see this. You will see this. Many people go through really tough situations because they don't have a spiritual presence with them. Right? So that tells you, why is this person being punished in his grave? You know, when it comes to the fiqh of puberty, there's a lot of things I need to be aware about. You know what? Are the technical aspects in our deen important? Yeah. Because it's not enough to say Allah is Ghafoor Rahim and Allah is forgiving and merciful and say, oh, I'm a good person, my heart's clean. Oh yeah, my actions are completely lousy and I don't do this and I treat my parents like that and I'm wasting my time like this and yeah, my actions are completely lousy, but I'm a good person and I'm sure Allah will forgive. No. This is not the way the Muslim deals with his life. No, abadan. So there's certain things I need to be aware about, because understanding the letter of the law, understanding really the system. We have a system of fiqh. And like I told you, we have ibadat, those things I mentioned, salah, siyam, zakah, hajj, tahara. These are ibadat. And then we have other aspects of your life, mu'amalat. And when you get married, if you have to deal with divorce, when you have to deal with business and financial transactions, our deen is very, very comprehensive altogether in its approach. So it's very important to have this in mind. As we're approaching the subject of fiqh. I just got a reminder, 5 minutes left. Is it okay to make it a little longer, Shaykh Yusuf? Just maybe if we can go to the hour mark, so maybe 20 more minutes, and then I'll stop with the recording. Is it okay? Okay, Jazakallah khair. So basically we're going to have this part of the talk, it's going to be lecture. That's why we have it live streamed. You got Facebook with you and YouTube in the back, right? Facebook and YouTube's right there. Yeah, so we have the Facebook and YouTube with us, and then we're going to shut it off so we can have a discussion. I want to hear your questions. I want to interact. I don't want to lecture the whole time. So inshallah, he's waving to Facebook. Yeah. So anyway, when it comes to understanding what I should do, there are certain things that are mechanical in my deen. Like there's a certain way to pray. You can't just say, well, you know what? Instead of praying 5 times a day, I'll just pray 2 times a day. No. We learned this from our deen, Or you know what? It's so inconvenient to stop 5 times in the day to do salah. Let me just, wholesale is nice, right? You guys ever been to a wholesale place? You get cheaper price from Sha'arifah. Let me just remove all 5 and make it wholesale in the end of the day and pray it all at once. I'll be able to get it all done like in 15 minutes, right? Good idea? No, not a good idea, of course, because it defeats the whole purpose. The whole purpose of constantly disconnecting and reconnecting with Allah Why? I need to have this in my mind whenever I'm dealing with things in life. And you're gonna realize this more and more. Because a lot of people have a lot of challenges, personal challenges. A lot of people go through mental health issues, emotional issues, family issues. A lot of people go through different tragic circumstances. I need Allah. I need Allah, and I need a good support system around me. The faces you see around you, good candidates for a support system. Really good candidates. So think about this. Brothers, please pay attention with me. It's not just about what you believe in. It's about how you act. What are the procedures? We have certain way to do salah. We have certain way to do tahara. We have certain things that are najis. We have something called najasa. What's najasa? Najasa is filth. Something, not just filth. Najasa is something that when you come into contact with it, you need to deal with it a certain way. When you think of like garbage, filthy? Filthy? If you think of if you got a garbage, a pile of garbage fell on your clothes, and it had rotten fruits and old tabikh and cooked stuff that have a really awful smell to it. Is it filthy? Is it disgusting? Yeah. Is it najis? No, it's not najis. Najasa is something very particular. It's something that's tangible, and you need to manage it in a certain way. You cleanse it a certain way. You don't need to do the same thing. Like for example, what do you call it? If you have snot, or if you have the saliva, that might be something filthy, right? Filthy. But is it najis? It's not najis. Najis. We have something called najasa, and something else called hadath. Hadath is a certain state that makes you required to do wudu, or another state that makes you required. What do I mean state? I don't mean New Jersey or the New York or Connecticut. That's not what I mean by state. Huh? Yeah, status, exactly. بالضبط. So a certain status that makes you required to do wudu, and another status that makes you required to do what we call ghusl. What does ghusl mean? Huh? Long story short, it's like a shower, but with an intention. It's a special type of shower. An intention to remove a major state of impurity, like we call it. Right? So we have najasa, and then we have hadath, that status, the state, like we said. So that's something I need to know about, because the Prophet ﷺ said, it's important. I need to learn about it. At-tahur shatrul iman. That's something that our deen teaches. Being pure on the inside and outside is half of faith. That's half of faith all by itself. And that's because your salah won't be accepted without it, and other aspects of your relationship with Allah won't be right without it. And that's why there's a masjid, it's called Masjid Quba. It was mentioned in the Quran. Do we have any hafiz in the Quran? Any hafiz with us here? Anyone who knows Surah At-Tawbah? Anyone? You know it? You know Masjid Quba? Do you know the verse that speaks about Masjid Quba in the Quran? What is it? You visited it. Very nice. Okay, I'll start the verse for you. Can you continue it? فيه رجال. You know it? يحبون أن يتطهروا. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُطَّهِرِينَ. Allah mentioned these people, Quba, like our brother mentioned there. It's right outside of Old Medina. Quba, they were recognized because they were very pure people. They'd make sure that whenever they relieve themselves, they clean themselves really thoroughly. Right? So that's another aspect of tahara. What other aspects? So I said ghusl, I said wudu. Wudu is when you do the specific rituals that we do to prepare for salah. Ghusl, it's basically a shower but with a special intention when certain things happen. What are those things? Well, we'll talk about it. That's after you become baligh. That's after you enter the age of bulugh. What's the age of bulugh? The age of bulugh is when certain things happen in your body or when you turn 15. If those certain things don't happen before 15, then when you turn 15, what are they? It's when you have what we call a nocturnal emission, or in other words, a wet dream, or when you release something from your body with shahwa and desire. You don't need to see something, but it becomes part of your body. Your body starts reacting in certain ways when it has a desire and a shahwa. That requires the shower. What's that shower called? Ghusl. What's different than ghusl and a normal shower? The intention. That's basically another aspect of tahara. Other things that you learn when you're talking about najasa is, for example, the scholars, they discuss, is blood najis? Is blood najis? Is blood, when it comes on something, do I need to clean it? The answer is yes, according to many scholars, blood. Some scholars, they say it's not, but many scholars, they say blood is something that when it comes on your body or your clothes, you need to wash it away. Because you can't pray with that on your body or on your clothes, right? Another example of something that is najis is urine, right? Another example of it, of something that is najis, is khinzir, is swine, is pork. That's something that is not only not allowed to eat, it's actually impure. And the reason is the Quran says it, فَإِنَّهُ رِجْسٌ. Right? Another example of something that is najis is something that is of an alcoholic content. It's alcohol or wine or something of the sort. So these are things that are brought up in the subject of tahara. So again, answer the question for me once again. How do you become baligh? We said we're translating it as puberty, even though puberty is more general. Puberty refers to a lot of different things. It's when your voice starts changing, when hair starts growing on certain parts of your body, and when certain different things start changing in your hormones in your body, right? But bulugh is something more specific. Remind me, how do you become baligh? Huh? How do you reach bulugh, the age of bulugh? 15 if nothing happens in your body to cause it. What's the other way it happens? I used the big word. You remember what the big word is? No, acting like you're adult is something different. It's called a nocturnal emission. It's when something is released from your body, when your body secretes something. You learn this in health class in school, inshallah, right? So that causes bulugh. We call it seminal fluid, right? Seminal fluid, semen, seminal fluid. So this is what causes bulugh, and we said different aspects of the subject. When it comes to talking about major and minor hadath, we said it's a state, right? So what are some things that make you required to do wudu, for example? Can you tell me? Some things that make you have to do wudu. If dirty things come on your body, like what? No, you don't have to do wudu if garbage comes on your body. Huh? No. You never have to do wudu when something tangible comes on your body, because we said it's a state, right? Wudu is when something leaves your body or your body enters a certain conditions, right? So what would wudu be from? Go ahead. Digesting what? Digesting what? That would make you have to make wudu? No, you don't. If you eat something, you don't have to make wudu. You don't have to make wudu if you eat something. Go ahead, you want to say something? If you got blood on your clothes? No. You know, there's actually a big misconception. Many people think if you get najasa, so we said if I had a board, I would do this for you visually. But it's okay, we don't need it, Shaykh Yusuf. Well, next time we'll do it with the board. If you get najasa on your body, it actually doesn't make you do wudu. Wudu is when something that isn't tangible. Tangible, you mean you can't touch it. You can't touch it. Happens. And I'll give you the examples for that. But when you say you get urine on your clothes, do you have to make wudu? No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to do ghusl either. You just have to clean the urine. Unless you urinated on your clothes. Urinating, that's different. But like say for example, you have a baby brother or baby sister, and you touch their clothes and you notice that all the urine got on your hand. And it's nasty, right? You got to go wash it, but you have to do your wudu again? No, you don't have to do your wudu again. What causes wudu? I'll give you an example. That's when you go to the bathroom and relieve yourself. You urinate. That's not something you could touch. You could touch the urine, right? But urinating, that's not something you touch, right? That's a process or something that happens in your body, inside your body, right? Or releasing gas. Does that break your wudu? Yeah. Of course, no one misunderstand. I didn't say go get any wise ideas and put your hand in the toilet to touch the urine, okay? I didn't say this, right? But the point is, it's tangible, not edible, not edible. You guys know the difference between tangible and edible? Edible, of course I'm just pushing your buttons, I'm playing with you. Edible means you eat it, right? Tangible means you could touch it, right? So, and hadath is referring to something you can't do either to, right? So, when you use the bathroom, you relieve it, or you pass gas, that breaks your wudu, right? If you touch something dirty, that doesn't break your wudu. If you had wudu before, that's it. Just go wash your hand, you're good to go. That's it, you're good, right? Same thing with sleeping. Does sleeping break your wudu? Yes. Can you touch sleeping? You could touch someone sleeping, but you can't touch sleeping. It's a state, it's a condition. You understand what I mean now? You guys understand it? So sleeping. Does sleeping always break your wudu? No, it doesn't always break your wudu, right? If you're like sitting sometimes it happens here during Ramadan. People are sitting, waiting for salah, and they're so exhausted that their heads start bobbing forward like this, like that, and they're very sleepy, but they're not lying down on their back. They're sitting up, right? If you're sitting in sitting position, then your wudu doesn't break. If you're lying on your back or leaning back on something, then your wudu breaks, right? So how many things do we have so far? Okay, passing gas, or they say it like this: "Ma kharaja min as-sabilayn." Anything that leads to something exiting from your genitals, from the front, yani, or from your buttocks, from the rear. Anything that causes that's going to break your wudu. So we have here two things, right? And then the next thing after that, sleeping, right? Jazakallah khair Maulana. Right? So, and then the next thing after that is what do you call it? Touching your private area. Touching your private area. According to most scholars, not all scholars, some scholars say this doesn't break your wudu. The Hanafi school doesn't say you break your wudu. But most scholars, they say, if you touch your private area with your hand, why would you do that? Don't ask me. But if you touch it, then it breaks your wudu. Okay? So this is another one. And another one after that is going to be coming into physical contact with the opposite gender. Of course, someone who isn't not your mother or your sister, but if you come into contact, like say, if you go to the store, and so some scholars, they say this breaks your wudu. But many scholars, they say this doesn't break your wudu. So there's a difference of opinion about this one. Right? So you could leave that. So here, let me just summarize it for you again, just so you have here. I'll bring this closer to here. When we're talking about, this is a small marker. Okay, it doesn't write. Were they all not right? Let's see. Bismillah. Okay, this one writes a little bit better, but still not good. Bismillah. Okay, this one writes better. So when we're talking about purifying ourselves, we have something called hadath and something else called najasa. Najasa. They're two different things. Okay, this is referring to things that are tangible. Right? This is referring to things here that are hadath. Ahdath. You guys know the word ahdath? Like events, occurrences, right? Something, a state, a condition. Right? This is referring to a condition. Jazakallah khair Maulana. Look, this is closer to the size of my hand, so this one's better. That one's a little small. So this condition. And this is something that's tangible. All right, this just needs to be cleaned. That's all it needs to do. You don't need to make wudu for that. Something that's najasa, you just clean it. That's it. You don't need to redo your wudu or take a shower or anything of the sort. Hey, this is what you need to either make wudu from or ghusl. And we said ghusl is shower with what? Shower with intention. Tamam? Wudu is what you need for salah. And ghusl is when certain things happen in your body. So this, everything here, you guys understand it? You guys good on it? Okay. And we're going to do questions in the end, by the way. Inshallah, I'll stop soon because this subject is so huge, by the way, right? There's so much you could cover. I just want to give you the basics, right? So you understand, because why are we talking about this anyway? Because certain things are happening on my body. I need to make sure that my relationship with Allah is done right? I need to make sure that I'm maintaining the cleanliness of my body in a proper way. Okay? So this is najasa and this is hadath. In another workshop we could go in more detail, but I'm going to tell you, alright, what's going to make you have to do wudu? Alright, and inshallah we'll probably stop the live stream in a few more minutes, Shaykh Yusuf, and we'll be good to go inshallah with the Q&A. And then in the Q&A you could ask anything you want, whether it relates to this subject or it relates to anything else. Okay, they want to do the Q&A session. Okay, fine, no problem. Khalas, we'll stay with Facebook and YouTube, no problem. And then in that case, if anyone's too shy to ask their question directly, then you could write it down, mathalan. And if you don't want anyone to know, so Shaykh Yusuf's going to get some papers, and you could write your question down, and you could remain anonymous. We'll have a stack of questions, and you could ask whatever you want, right? So here, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, or you know what, do you guys all have phones? You guys all have phones? Is that a thing? You guys all have phones? Maybe we'll ask Shaykh Yusuf and you can, Jazakallah khair, show me your phone. Hide it for now. Maybe we could have you text my Google Voice number. Maybe it might be easier because I know many people aren't used to writing anymore. Especially in this day and age, everything's usually with technology. So anyway, so what makes you have to do wudu? Again, mathalan, what they say, that which exits your body from your genitals or from your buttocks, from the ma kharaja min as-sibilayn, right? So something exiting. I'm just going to put from genitals. So this is one. Another thing is sleeping, but not always, right? Not all the time. We said if you are sitting upward, your buttocks is on the ground, you lose your wudu? No. You're leaning back, you're lying on your back, then you have to make wudu again. Alright, number 3. Alright, so here, what exits from the genitals, this would also include like passing gas, for example. Passing gas. That would break your wudu. Alright, well what if I doubt? If I don't know? I'm in salah, and some people, by the way, they deal with this. Sometimes it's a test. Some of you might experience this, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you afiyah, if you do experience this. Some people, they have a really tough time with this, because some gas is always coming from their body. That's one time. Or some urine is always leaving from their body, and they don't know what to do. And sometimes it's all in the head. Some people, they have obsessive compulsive disorder, or they get so fixated on making wudu, it becomes such a grueling process. It becomes it becomes difficult. I know people who had to deal with this, and their wudu was 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. Can you imagine someone making wudu for 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Can you imagine this? It's tough. It's not easy. And it's something that you should never feel like you have to do. No, that's not what your relationship with Allah is about. Doing wudu 5 or 10 times over again? No, don't allow that to happen. Because there's a lot to talk about in terms of your ibadah, by the way. A lot to talk about. The shaitan is going to want to ruin the process for you. But if you're able to taste the sweetness of salah and ibadah, it's a very good experience, right? وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ الَّذِينَ يَظُنُّونَ أَنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ راجعون. Anyway, so that's another thing, sleeping here. And then we have number 3. What did we say for number 3? Touching what? Touching private parts. This is according to some. That's a difference of opinion about. Another one is coming into contact with the opposite gender. But most scholars, they say this doesn't really break your wudu. But some scholars say it breaks your wudu. Contact with the opposite gender. This is the Shafi'i school, it says this. But many others, they say this is not the case. Go ahead. He says if you drink haram things, try to leave all the questions to the end, but I'll answer this one because it came. If you drink haram things, does it break your wudu? No, it doesn't break your wudu. The drinking haram things doesn't, unless if someone gets drunk, mathalan, and they lose their senses. They become like, just like someone, they lost their mind, mathalan. This person, they lose it. Why? Because of the same reason we said sleeping breaks your wudu. Because sleeping, there's other things in the meaning of sleeping. Like mathalan, someone who goes into a coma, or someone who faints, same idea as sleeping, right? Or someone who needs to go for an operation and it's a medically induced coma. When they wake up, do they have to make wudu again? Yeah, of course, they have to make wudu again. So these are things that cause wudu. Okay? Go ahead. No. So that goes under najasa. Impurities. He said, does touching a dog break your wudu? No, it never breaks your wudu. Is it considered najis by us? There's a difference of opinion about that. But the mainstream scholars, they say, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, you need to handle the najasa, you need to handle coming into contact with the saliva of a dog in a special way. Is it because the dog's najis? Well, there's one of the madhabs, like the Maliki school, it says the dog isn't najis, but the Prophet ﷺ said we have to follow these certain guidelines, so we follow them. Other scholars, they say, no, the saliva of the dog is najis. But regardless, is it going to affect your wudu? It's not going to affect your wudu. It's just something you need to clean in a proper way. You got it? Right? So that's some things that cause you to have to make wudu. Now, okay, how do I make wudu? Okay, so I know this is what we call, these are what we would call nawaqid al-wudu. The things that invalidate your wudu. These are the things here. Okay? Now, how do I make wudu? How do I make wudu? That's a whole other discussion. Is wudu something special to the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When was wudu mandated? Right? So these are questions. So wudu, as far as we know, has been in Islam ever since salah has been in Islam. And since when has salah been in Islam? Since when? Since what year from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life? You know? The Prophet was born on the day of the elephants. That's before Islam. All right? Am al-Fil. You guys know? So they say that the 5 daily prayers, this came later on. Salah as a concept, Qiyamul Layl for example, this was with the Prophet ﷺ from the very first year, right? In Surah Al-Muzammil, right? When it was mandated. Qiyamul Layl, Qum al-Layla illa qalila. But 5 daily salahs, this happened at a special moment. When did it happen? I'm a Shaykh al telephone. Multiple people raised their heads. So I guess there was multiple people with their phones. So there's one person who didn't raise their head, but he had his phone off. So, okay. So anyway, when? What year? Isra wal Mi'raj, the night journey. That's when we got the 5 daily prayers. When was that? Who knows when the Isra wal Mi'raj was? Approximately. You guys know? Anyone? No, not the 1400s. So the 10th year after revelation, towards the end of the Meccan period, that's when the Prophet ﷺ was blessed with the night journey, right? And that's when we were given the 5 daily salawat, right? So anyway, going back to wudu though, so is wudu exclusive to the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ? Yes? No? If you say no, raise your hand. A few people say no. All right, who else does wudu? Where else is it mentioned? Huh? Anyone know? It's mentioned in the Bible, by the way. Cleansing, when it talks about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, about cleansing the body for prayers. That's a concept like wudu. But it wasn't like the specific wudu that we do, right? But that concept of ablution, it's even mentioned in Christianity, in the Bible. It's mentioned in the Bible, right? But in Islam, there's something special in wudu. It's ghurra and tahjeel. It's ghurra and tahjeel. What's ghurra and tahjeel? It's when you wash your arms to the fullest here, and you wash the sides of your face, and you wash your feet to the fullest. This is ghurra and tahjeel. The Prophet ﷺ said that, on the Day of Judgment, people will be in utter darkness. People will be in the Day of Judgment is a very dark day, except for the people who have the nur of Iman. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, الظُّلْمُ ظُلُمَاتٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Oppression and wrongdoing in this life is going to be in the form of darkness, multiple forms, layers of darkness on the Day of Judgment, right? إِنَّ أُمَّتِي يُدْعَوْنَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ غُرًّا مُحَجَّلِينَ مِنْ آثَارِ الْوُضُوءِ. My ummah will have a special mark on the Day of Judgment from the effects of wudu. What will that be? It'll be special nude in their face and in their arms, right? That's what's special about wudu for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's a little bit about the past. Now when it comes to wudu, there are certain things that you have to do and other things that are recommended for you to do. So we talked about the invalidators, that's here. What are the things that you have to do for wudu? Now by the way, one of the beautiful things, you noticed I mentioned this a few times so far, that some scholars say this, but most scholars say that. There's differences of opinion a lot in fiqh. Is that a bad thing? Is that something that's negative, right? Why do we have differences of opinion in our deen? Why isn't it all the same? Actually, when we have these differences of opinion, it actually makes it a lot easier for those in different situations, right? So this actually is a form of rahmah, an ease for the ummah. If everything was all the same, it'd be very difficult for everyone in all times and places to be monolithic, all the same. So anyway, when it comes to the things I have to do in wudu, what's the first thing I have to do in wudu? Before you do any act. Niyyah, intention. I think Shaykh Yusuf has gone over intention with you guys multiple times before, mashallah. Intention. This is number one. Intention. Why? Because intention is what separates a ritual from an act of worship. What do I mean ritual? Just like a mundane act from an act of worship. It separates something that you just do routinely, right? From something that you're actually doing to please Allah. So the intention, it's a big deal. That's the first thing in wudu, right? What's the second thing in wudu? What do you guys think? What's the second thing in wudu? Wash your hands. Actually, interestingly, washing your hands in the beginning is actually something that's recommended in wudu. Is it something that I have to do? No. Is it really good to do it and should I do it? Yeah, I should do it, right? So it's not a requirement. So here we're going to just list the main requirements for wudu. The other things are virtuous things that you shouldn't abandon because they're the way of our Prophet ﷺ. They're the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ. But what's the first required thing after intention? It has to be purifying water. But that's not one of the... That's like a shart, not a rukun. A shart is something that's required. A rukun is something part of the process. That's the difference. Like, so for example, having wudu is a requirement for salah, but it's not actually part of salah, right? So that's the difference between. So having pure water is a condition, right? But we're talking about the process here, all right? Well, go ahead. What is it? Walking into the bathroom with the left foot. That's actually out of the etiquettes. And I'll list them, inshallah, before we conclude today. I'll list them right after this. Let me just finish wudu. We'll list the etiquettes of the bathroom, and then we're done for Q&A. So that's actually the etiquettes of entering the bathroom. The first required thing after intention and wudu is washing your face. Washing your face. That's washing the face. Okay. Now, you're going to find, how many times do we do the things in wudu, the process in wudu? 3 times, right? This emphasis of 3 times, this is virtue, recommended. It's a blessing. It gives you light upon light, nur upon nur. The minimum is how many times? 1 time. Minimum is 1 time. Doing more, up to 3, not 4, not 5, of course. You shouldn't be taking a shower while you're taking. Some people, that's how their wudu is a shower, right? And sometimes people, when they start becoming like very committed, you'll find that usually when they walk out the bathroom, their clothes are drenched in water, like all from top to bottom. This doesn't mean you're a better person if your clothes are drenched from top to bottom. No, this is not something that you should do. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ told us, don't be excessive in your usage of water, even if you are using it from a flowing river, right? So don't let that happen to you, right? So anyway, but that's besides the point. Washing the face is number 2. And that is minimum 1 time. What's the next thing after that? Washing the face comes what? Washing what? Washing the arms from the fingertips until? Including the elbow or not including the elbow? Including the elbow. Including the elbow. So washing arms. And again, how many times? Is recommended, but 1 is what? Minimum requirement, right? So washing arms. What's number 4? There's something before washing the feet. Yes, wiping the hair. Wiping the hair, that is number 4, the hair. Huh? A quarter? About how much to do, there's so much detail there. I mean, some of them say just even a little bit, some of them say the full head, some of them the quarter of the head. Those are details. But we're just giving you a main general outline, right? If you want more, take a Fiqh of Worship course with Manara, with Shaykh Yusuf, inshallah. And then, so that's hair. What's the last question or what? Okay. Difference of opinion. So the Shafi'i school say yes. Other schools, they say just once. Okay. So that's a difference of opinion. Next. The area of the head. If you're bald, you just wipe your you wipe your sal'a, your bald spot, right? So then what's after this? The hair. What's the last thing? Feet. Until where? Until and including the ankle bone. Don't forget that. Some people, they do this very loosely. They don't care. It's just like they're gonna. Again, some people they just enter the bathroom, shouting with their friend and joking around, and go right to the sink, and they hit their face, and then under the thing, kada, and just like that, and put their foot under a little bit, and they run out to the musalla and they pray, and they didn't think anything. You know what? If wudu is an act of worship, it's not about cleaning your skin. It's an act of worship. It's the first step to being able to concentrate in your salah. So that's why you should do it very thoroughly, very carefully. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he actually mentioned that there's great virtue in isbagh al-wudu' ala al-makarih. ذَلِكُمُ الرِّبَاطِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is a sign of high commitment. If you're able to do this thoroughly and you actually give it its attention. You know what? Because if you didn't give it its attention, it shows that you don't really care. Because if it was a video game and you're on this high level, and if you die, you're going to go back to level 1, your fingers are going to fall off before you let go of the controller. You're going to be so focused, pressing buttons, and your fingers will fall off before you let the controller go. And if your brother stands in front of the screen, you're going to get in the biggest fight with him ever, and you're going to مش عارف it, right? So imagine about salah, someone who mindlessly enters the bathroom, I don't care, just slap, and run and just اركع ركعات لا تعقل منها شيئا. No, that's not how I want my relationship with Allah to be. That's part of fiqh of puberty, taking life seriously. This is one of the most. This is what you should learn from all this. My life is important. It's very serious. You know what? And the reason why I should take this importantly is because, again, life is precious, man. Life is precious. You're young now. Don't take it for granted. There's one of our youth, and we pray that Allah Azza wa Jal gives him shifa. Shaykh Yusuf mentioned him many times. Our dear brother, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eases his pain. Umar Nawfal, he is a youth that is part of the youth programming. He was with us right before COVID happened. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused him to go through certain trials, inshallah, to purify him and to raise his status. And inshallah, we pray that Allah gives him full recovery from that. But be careful, because a lot of people, they don't take their life seriously, and then they lose it. They lose the opportunity. So don't look at these details and say, this is a waste of time. No. This is part of me starting being serious about my life. There's so much more we could say about this. There's one more requirement for wudu. There's one more after the feet. What comes? What is it? It's the last one. Not dua. Doing this in order. Doing this in order. Tartib. Right? Someone wants to be a wise guy and say, you know what? It'd be better for me to start with my feet before my face, is just because my feet are closer to the water, so I'm going to do it reverse. Can you do that? No, we do wudu the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us to do wudu. And that's why we've got to do tartib. All right? So this is the last one here. These are the requirements of wudu. Go ahead. What's the ruling of doing wudu over socks? Can you save it for Q&A? Yeah, I'm almost done. Let's just finish it, because that's going to take us into a bunch of different subjects. So let me just finish the etiquettes of the bathroom, and then we're going to start taking questions. I know it took so long. Wow, time flies. It's already 3:30. So here there's some etiquettes that you should keep in mind for the fiqh of purification. First thing, take a look at this. The Prophet ﷺ, this is a hadith, it's in Sunan ibn Majah. When we say sallallahu alayhi wasallam, say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, أكثر عذاب القبر من البول. Most of the punishment of the grave is actually coming from people not relieving themselves properly in the bathroom. It's an authentic hadith. And then we mentioned already about the people of Quba, so we won't say that again. Here, always sanctify and honor the right. This is part of the etiquettes of the bathroom. The Prophet ﷺ, as it says in the hadith, كَانَ يُحِبُّ التَّيَامُنَ فِي شَأْنِهِ كُلِّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ would always sanctify the right, except when it comes to the bathroom. This is the exception. Because it's something that is actually filthy. And that's why we give it the left. The left, we give it the priority. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِذَا بَالَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلَا يَأْخُذَنَّ ذَكَرَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. And then he says, وَلَا يَسْتَنْجِي بِيَمِينِهِ. وَلَا يَتَنَفَّسْ فِي الْإِنَاءِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, don't grab your private area with your right hand when you're urinating. No, do it with your left. Don't enter the bathroom with your right foot. Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. It's part of being a person who is thinking about the small, the minor things, the things that people treat insignificantly. Becoming conscious of those things. So don't grab it with your right, and don't clean your private area with your right. No, do that with the left. Be careful not to expose yourself in public. This is actually an important etiquette of the bathroom. Many people, when they go in the public bathrooms, they don't, they do what everyone else is doing. They see the stalls in the walls, and they sometimes it uncovers. Or sometimes when you go to a public shower, not a public shower, when you go to a public pool, and there's the showers and everything like that. Is it okay for a Muslim to completely uncover himself in front of another guy Is it okay for a guy to completely uncover himself in front of another guy? Whether it's by the swimming pool or in the showers or mash'arif, is it okay? No, it's not okay. Fiqh of puberty, it's not allowed, right? So this is another thing here. Now another thing, say the recommended invocation when you enter. What is that? So what do you say when you enter the bathroom? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ith, right? Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from al-khubth wal-khaba'ith. Who are al-khubth wal-khaba'ith? What are they? What is al-khubth and al-khaba'ith? Huh? Not the unclean things. This is actually referring to the jinn. The jinn, they're a creation just like us, right? So they're in areas like the bathrooms. They're in areas that are impure, right? So when you enter the bathroom, it shouldn't be for a long period of time. This is also part of the etiquette, fiqh of puberty, right? Things are going on in your body. You want to, how should I manage my visits to the bathroom? I shouldn't be staying in there for a long time. That's not proper. I should be going in there with the dua. And the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us, some people, they're used to taking long showers. They just like to sit in the tub and stay there for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatnot. This is not proper. It's not good to stay in the bathroom for a long time. It's actually, you should make it as short as possible. Some people, they're in the bathroom. Well, in the past, they would take a magazine or a newspaper with them. But of course, that's not going to happen now. You take your phone with you, and you scroll on your phone while you're on the bathroom. It's not appropriate, right? It's not part of the etiquette of the bathroom. Another thing here, the Prophet ﷺ would wipe the area he's going to sit on. He would clean it. كَانَ يَغْسِلُ مَقْعَدَتَهُ ثَلَاثًا, as the hadith would mention. He would wash it, actually. He would wash it. He'd make sure that he's sitting on a clean area. Of course, because he wasn't sitting on like the toilets that we have, right? The hammam ifranji. He wasn't sitting on that, but he would clean the area, he would wash it, make sure that he's urinating in a pure area and he's cleaning after himself. In our language, that's flush the toilet. Okay. Leave the bathroom clean for the person after you. All right, this, Shaykh Yusuf, I hope that we monitor this for the rest of the summer. We got a few weeks with each other. Please, we need to make sure that we actually start living our Islam. When I go to the bathroom, I'm going to keep it cleaner than I went inside. That's part of my Islam and my Iman. I need to practice this. You guys got this? This is part of my Islam and my Iman. To be clean when I go to the bathroom. Beware of public urination. Look at this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, اتَّقُوا اللَّاعِنَيْن. He said, beware of al-la'inain. Beware of the two things which provoke cursing. What are they? They asked the Prophet ﷺ, he said, الَّذِي يَتَخَلَّى فِي طَرِيقِ النَّاسِ أَوْ ظِلِّهِمْ. It's a person who, urinates publicly, where people sit or where people walk through. It's nasty, of course, but that's another etiquette. Beware of, do not greet one another, right? When you're in the stalls here in the bathroom, don't be having a conversation with the person in the stall next over. Right? That's not what we do. That's not our etiquette with the bathroom. Our etiquette with the bathroom is in and out. Don't take something sacred with you into the bathroom. Don't be reviewing Quran and say, you know what, I don't want to lose my mushaf, I'm going to take it with me to the bathroom. That's not proper etiquette. You should not take the words of Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Quran, to the bathroom. That's part of the etiquette of the bathroom. Right? And then be quick in exiting, like we said. And also, keep wudu. That's the Prophet ﷺ's etiquette. To try to keep the wudu as best as you can, even if you're not praying. Another thing, don't urinate standing up unless you absolutely have to. The Prophet, نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يبول قائما. The Prophet ﷺ would not, he prohibited from urinating while standing up. Why? Because it's going to cause splatter. And that splatter is going to come on my clothes, right? Only if I absolutely have to. If sitting down would be so certain that it would make me even dirtier. Like when you go to a public bathroom and it's very dirty and you can't sit down, then in that case, okay, it's a special circumstance. But make sure you clean yourself and you don't allow the urine to get on your clothes. Another thing you should do, istibra' min al-bawl. After you urinate, you make sure that you take a cloth and you clean that area. Don't just lift up your pants and allow the urine, whatever is left, to come on your clothes. Beware of this. Be conscious of it. When exiting, say, Alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni al-adha wa afani. There's another dhikr. I would encourage you to memorize it. It's very short. Alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni al-adha wa afani. Who of you knew this dua before? Who of you? What does it mean? Oh, yes. Wa'afani. That's exactly. Alhamdulillah, the one who took away from me the adha, the discomforts and the inconveniences, and granted me well-being. You know why? What happens if you can't use the bathroom for days on end? Or what happens if it needs to come out but it can't come out? Oh, it's very painful. Oh, it really hurts. A lot of people have to deal with that. So make sure you take care of your body and you remember Allah's ni'am upon you and His blessings upon you. Those are some etiquettes when you go to the bathroom. We talked about, so let's review. I'm done for the content. I know we went way over, it went so long. But inshallah, we're going to just do Q&A after this. But what did we talk about? We talked about fiqh, right? We talked about puberty. We talked about what puberty means for me, right? Because now, you're growing up, you're going to get exposed to a lot of things. On TV, through video games, movies, TV shows, through your friends, and be very careful. The decisions you make now have very far-reaching effects, right? And that's one thing we spoke about in the beginning. And what's another thing we spoke about today? What's another thing we spoke about? The etiquettes of tahara and purifying your body. Yeah. Okay, what else did we speak about today? What else did we speak about? We spoke about hadath, a state, a condition, right? What else did we speak about? What is it? Mubtilat al-wudu, the invalidators of wudu. Very good. What else did we talk about? Najasa, right? Impurities, right? That's the tangible stuff. The tangible impurities, you don't need to make wudu from that. You just clean it. That's it. That's all you got to do. What else did we talk about today? Namima, yes, exactly. That's being dirty on the inside, right? Having urine on your clothes is being dirty on the outside. Being an imam and a person who divides between people, you spread misinformation, you spread bad news between people. This is namima. You divide between people with your words, right? What else did we talk about today? We spoke about ghusl, right? We said it's a shower with intention. That's basically what ghusl is. We spoke about the requirements of wudu. That's another thing we spoke about today, right? And then we spoke about the etiquettes of the bathroom, right? So these are the main things. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, and I hope you benefited from it. I enjoyed the time with you, and now I'm looking forward to some questions if you guys have it. Stretch. Oh, yeah, go ahead. 2 minutes stretching. Yalla. In the side room? Oh, there you go.
Stand up. Everybody can stand up.
Assalamu alaikum.
Let's start off by just reaching up into the air, yeah? Reach all the way up. Try to reach the ceiling. Stretch your stomach out all the way up. Get up on your toes. All the way up. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Now come down slowly. All right, now we're going to work on our neck. We're just going to roll our neck. Nice and slowly, all the way. Don't forget to breathe into your nose, out through your mouth. Nice and slow. Normally I'll go 10 in each side. Now go the other way. Don't forget to breathe into your nose, out through your mouth. Slow, Susie, slow. Trying to break your neck, bro. Slow. Look up, down, all the way, up, down, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, all the way to the right again, all the way to the left. Good, swing your arm. Don't hit the person next to you. Come on, guys. All right, good. Shake your arms out, shake your arms out. All right. Now put your arms to your side. You're going to reach all the way down to our toes. Try not to bend your knees. If you have to bend your knees, though, bend it slightly. Good. If you're bending your knees, now straighten them out slowly. Good. Fold your arms, hug your elbows. Now slowly bend your knees. Push your hips forward. Bring it back up. Hands up. Back. Lean as far back as you can. Arms straight. Lean as far back as you can.
يعطيك العافية. That was good. So, Shaykh Yusuf, I'm with you guys now. If you have any questions. Huh? Sounds good. Who got questions? Toda. Yeah, what's the ruling with making wudu on your socks? So first off, of course, in the beginning of the day, you have to wash your feet before you put your socks on, right? You can't wipe on your socks, according to anybody, without washing your feet first, right? So why would you wash your feet then? It means like after you lose your wudu with your socks on, then you can wipe on your socks. Now, can you wipe on your socks? This is something that there's differences of opinion about. Some scholars, they say, anything that covers your feet, including your ankle bone, even if it's light or thin, can be something you wipe on. Right? This is the Hanbali school. Other scholars, they say, no, this isn't the case. It needs to be something thick, something closer to being like shoes or something like that. So if it's shoes that cover, so not like the running shoes that are very low, something that covers up to your ankles. They say that's what you could wipe on, right? So this is a difference of opinion. If someone wants leniency and wants to follow the opinion that says to wipe on the socks, no problem with that. No problem with that at all. If you want to be more conservative and precautious, then Jazakallah khair, then you can choose to what do you call it? Then you could choose to wipe on the shoes. Some people, they go out, pay attention to this one. So, how many of you have ever seen this? When you go out to a park and it's time to pray, you see some people wiping on their socks, and then when it comes time to pray, they take off their shoes and they pray with their socks. How many of you have seen that before? Right? Is it better to pray with your shoes or with your socks? Which one is it better? Huh? Actually, unless your shoes have like something najis on them, like poop, if you stepped in poop, that's different. But as long as that didn't happen, it's better for you to pray in your shoes than to pray in your socks. Right? Why? Because according to all scholars, if your shoes meet the requirement, of course, not like the running shoes, if they cover your ankles. According to all scholars, if you wipe on that, then you're good to go. There's no issue with that at all. So actually, if you have those types of shoes that cover up till your ankles, then the best thing for you to do, and it's actually even more convenient, just pray with your shoes on. Pray with your shoes on instead of taking them off and wiping on your socks. So that's what I would say about that question. And what else we got? Go ahead. Yeah, of course. You can't pray while you're drunk. If you're drunk. Of course, drinking alcohol is from the kaba'ir, one of the major sins. And actually, there's a hadith that says whoever gets intoxicated, then a prayer won't be accepted for him for a period of 40 days. There's an authentic hadith that says this. So well, then what's he supposed to do? Just not pray? No. It's showing you the severity of the sin. He still has to pray, but if on top of this, he doesn't pray, he's committing 2 sins instead of 1. But anyway, you can't pray if you're drunk because you're not in your right mind. But if someone drinks a little bit and they're still conscious, they committed a major sin, absolutely one of the biggest kaba'ir, but they still need to pray, of course. They have to pray. Yeah, it's a requirement for them. Go ahead. They don't call that drunk. They give you the shusma, the anesthesia. You don't get drunk on anesthesia. Some people, so they don't call that drunk, but I understand what you're saying. Basically, you're not conscious. So this person, if they give you anesthesia, it's actually recommended for you, not required, to do ghusl when you wake up out of the coma, the medically induced coma. But you, of course, are going to have to make wudu because it's just like sleeping, right? Yeah. So it breaks your wudu just like sleeping does. Go ahead. Yeah. Sweating? No, of course not. Sweating doesn't break your wudu. Go ahead. The sabilain are the genitals, by the way. Does vomiting break your wudu? No, not at all. Does it break your fasting? It only breaks your fasting if you do it, if you force it out. All right? But if it happens against your will, just suddenly, then it doesn't even break your fast. Right? You had your hand up. Go ahead. How about if you bleed? Does it break your wudu? Look, so about blood and salah, so this, if it's from an open passageway, manfadh maftuh, like say if you get a bloody nose, if it's a little bit and you like get a napkin and hold it during your salah, then you're good to continue. But if it's a lot and it like comes down to your clothes, then of course you have to stop and you have to go clean your nose and clean that area and then come back to the prayer. So, and there's a difference of opinion about that. So there's another opinion that says that blood isn't najis, and they take the example of the hadith of the individual who's standing guard, and he was an arrow was shot at him, and he continued to stay in his salah even though he was bleeding. So there's a difference of opinion about that. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Dopamine? Yeah.
The thing about shahawats is that, right, they're usually like something that could be helpful to you, like you eat mutton, right? That gives you like dopamine because you get energy from it, right? And if you like and having right, it's a good thing because you could like but something that you like use it like they exploit dopamine.
Yeah.
And then video games have like ranks, and whenever you like get promoted, right, it gives you dopamine, you feel good about it.
Yeah. So what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say like it's being exploited, like happiness isn't that bad thing, but they can exploit it with that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Dopamine in itself is something that is important for our body. Making that feeling of euphoria and happiness, but it's exploited by companies exactly to take it to become an addictive thing, an unnatural thing. Yeah, go ahead. No, eating doesn't break your wudu. No. Go ahead.
If you're in a coma for like maybe like a year or so, do you have to make up the prayers?
So if you're in a coma, it wasn't medically induced, like from an accident or something like that, right? No, if this person is actually excused from making up those prayers because he wasn't in the realm of taklif. It's a little different than sleeping because when you go to sleep, you can wake up, right? But when you're in a coma because of a certain injury, you can't wake up. So you're actually not accountable for what happens during that time because it wasn't in your hands. So you don't have to make them up.
If it's purposely like wanting to be in a coma for some reason, you have to make it up.
When we say purposefully, it's like we mean medically induced. That's like when you go to the doctors and they say we need to put you in a coma because of your situation. So if someone chooses to go into that because like they need certain operations done on them, it's different than when someone like gets into an accident and they get into a coma or you get it. So if it happens by itself, then that person's not mukallaf, because wasn't of his choice, and he doesn't have to make up the prayers. No, not at all. Go ahead. Yeah, what breaks your wudu? Something that exits your body from the genitals or from the rear. And then another thing would be sleeping in an uncontrolled state. And then another thing, according to some scholars, would be coming into physical contact with the opposite gender. And another thing, according to some scholars, would be touching your private area with your hand. And those are the main ones. Yeah. Got it? Any questions on this side? Yeah, go ahead. When you do ightisal, ightisal is actually, you don't have to do the steps, the recommended procedures to do wudu during your ghusl. But basically, if you have the intention and you wash your entire body, then this is enough for meeting the minimum requirement. Okay? Any other questions? Well, I think we got questions here. Let me read this question. And by the way, I was going to put for you my number in case you have questions later and you want to talk or ask something. You could always do that. Is bleeding from your nose break your wudu? No, it doesn't break your wudu. But if you're during salah, like we said, and it's a lot, then you need to stop the salah. Is taking a 30-minute nap break your wudu? If you're not in a controlled state and you're like sleeping, then on your back, مثلا, then it breaks your wudu. ICPC for life, flip. And a nice drawing. Jazakallah khair. And then here, would it if you I can't read the handwriting here. Go ahead. It's not your question? Go ahead. Okay, so you want me to repeat it for Facebook? All right, if you pass gas during salah, right, do you still get the hasanat for the things you did before? You know what? You actually might end up getting more hasanat because it's a test. You know, so it's testing your iman. Some people be like, they'll stay in their salah. They'll, be like, well, it's not like anyone's going to find out anyway, and it's embarrassing. I'm not going to go repeat it again. Khalas, whatever. I just did the motions, and I'm sure Allah will accept it. It's a test of your iman. For you to say, you know what, I'm going to go and make wudu again and pray again because I want it to be accepted by Allah and I want to do it right, then you'll actually end up getting more reward. Inshallah, you get reward for whatever you caught, and on top of that, you'll get reward for passing the test because it's a big test. Who's going to know that you passed gas unless it smells? But like if you're praying by yourself, and who's going to know that you passed gas? You could get away with it. No one's going to hold you accountable, except Allah Azza wa Jalla, and that's what really matters. Go ahead. Yeah, of course. Laying on your stomach would break your wudu. Go ahead. If you could, the best thing to do, if you could walk to the end and then walk from the back like that, then that's what you should do instead of like squeezing through each line. How are you going to pass between the people praying? Well, this is different. It's a darura. You could pass in front of them because it's it's not in your hand. You lost your wudu. So walk to the end and then walk to the back. That's what I would say. Go ahead. Let me do this side a little longer, and then I'll get to you, inshallah. Go ahead. If you're leaning back, if is your buttocks firmly fixed on the ground? Are you like sitting upwards like this, kada? If it's to the side, no, it breaks your wudu. All right, it's gonna break, huh? Like how? Show me. Show me. Just like how you're sitting in the chair? No, that doesn't break your wudu. Yeah. But if you were like leaning back a little bit, or if your legs were up, مثلا, then that would break your wudu. Go ahead. You didn't ask a question yet. Go ahead.
If you were in prayer, you can hold it or gap
So if you, this is, shusma, this is actually a good question. If you're in your wudu, if you're in your salah and you really have to use the bathroom, and you're trying to hold it in so you don't pass gas, what should you do? First off, it's best not to pray like this because it's going to take away your concentration. It's makruh. It's offensive to do this, to pray like this, because it's going to take your concentration away completely. All right? But besides that, if you were to stay in the prayer, because what are you going to be thinking about? Oh, making it all the way to the end, and if you make it past the first taslima, yes, I'm safe. If before that, beat by the buzzard, right? So this, in this case, it wouldn't work. So it's best to leave your salah and go make wudu. But if you stay in the salah and you don't pass gas, then your salah is going to be valid. It's going to count, okay? There was some hands here. Who had their hands up? Go ahead. On the chair, if you're sitting upright, then it's not going to break your wudu. Yeah, even if you're sleeping. But if you're sleeping leaning back, مثلا you recline it, then it's going to break your wudu, of course. Yeah. Go ahead. الوضوء إذا وراجع هل بيبطل الوضوء؟ لا، ما بيبطل الوضوء، لا، ولا حتى الصيام إلا إذا راجع يعني قصدا وعمدا يعني. فهمت عليك؟ Go ahead. Yeah. And you did hold it in?
What if you couldn't hold it?
And then what happened? I can,
What his question was, he was praying at Mecca, and the bathroom is here, and he's on the opposite side, and he needs to pass the gas. So he held it in, but what if he couldn't? In that situation, what would happen?
well, no, خلاص, you just got to stop your prayer and you got to renew your wudu. There's nothing else you could do. But if you hold it in and you don't pass the gas and you finish the prayer, then you're good. But if you pass the gas, خلاص, you got to make wudu again. You got to make wudu again and pray. Go ahead.
Let's say you're the Shaykh and you're reading the salah, and then you pass gas or something, right?
Yeah.
Can you just continue the salah, but then when you're done, you just redo it?
No, you shouldn't continue the salah if you lose your wudu. If you're the imam, you should pause and you should see someone from behind you and put them in forward.
Can you just continue the salah, but when everyone's gone or something, you just pray?
No, you shouldn't do that because continuing the salah would be continuing an invalid prayer, and that's not right. To stand before Allah Azza wa Jalla and you don't have wudu. Allah alam. I know Shaykh Yusuf, it's past the time, 4:05. So if you guys want, we'll take a last question and then we'll stop. Go ahead. I don't know if you asked questions. Go ahead. Yeah, no. That's a good question actually. Is the beach going to break your wudu because it's quote unquote dirty? No, it's not, because it's a lot of water. And it's like a large body of water, right? So it's not, even if people relieve themselves in the water, it's not going to change the purity of the water because so much, all right? It's such a big body of water. If it was a small amount of water, then yeah, of course, you can't make wudu in that. And that's another thing. If you're gonna, by the way, if you want to make wudu, can you just jump inside the lake and come out and pray? Or do you have to do with the motions? No, you can actually. You immerse yourself in the lake and come out. You could do that, no problem. And in fact, if your whole body is under the water, you don't even need to do the motions because your whole body, that's it. It's happening in lahazat latifa, right? Very quickly. All right. But can you do the same thing in the swimming pool in your backyard? No, if it has a lot of chlorine, because the chlorine is going to affect the purifying element. The water is not going to be dirty, but it has a substance that no longer makes it purifying. So if it has a lot of chlorine and you could smell the chlorine, you can't make wudu in that type of pool. But in a lake or an ocean, yeah, of course, no problem at all. Jump inside and come back out and pray, no problem. Yeah, even if it's salty, it's natural though. It's natural to it. So you could make wudu in the ocean water, no problem at all. Right? They didn't add the salt to it. Right? So I think this is, we can stop here. I know there's so many questions and I'm enjoying your presence, to be honest with you. I'm enjoying taking the questions and hearing from you guys. You guys could always reach out to me, by the way, if you want. I'm in Clifton. I have a Google Voice number. You could get it from Shaykh Yusuf, inshallah. If you ever want to talk, just let me know, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah feek. Assalamu alaikum.